Hello and welcome to the Counterpoint podcast, our regular review of the latest developments in the tech sector. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Falguni Shah. Hello, Falguni. How are you today?
Hey Peter, I'm doing great.
Super. Thanks for joining. So, Falguni, you've recently published a report on the IoT platform space, which is, it's an extremely detailed report. So, we'll only be able to I think, scratch the surface today, but it's one of these sort of really fascinating areas that's developing, I think, quite fast. And, so we'll try and get into it a bit. So maybe we can start off just by discussing exactly what an IoT platform is and what it does.
Right. So currently, in order to stay ahead of the curve, majority of the organizations in every industry, I would say, are taking on a digital transformation journey in order to boost their business efficiencies and reduce their operating costs. Now, in order to do this, these organizations are embracing IoT as a way to accelerate their digital transformation initiatives. And they are doing this by equipping their assets with sensors, which basically transforms their assets into these intelligent edge devices. And this is where the IoT platform comes into picture. So now the streaming data from these intelligent edge devices is ingested, processed, analyzed by this IoT platform, and this can be done at the edge as well as in the cloud. So, in a nutshell, the IoT platform basically acts as a middleware, and it sits between the endpoints, which is these smart devices and gateways on one end, and the applications which will perform data visualizations on the other end.
Okay. All right. So quite an interesting development. And I think, the transformation from kind of machine to machine communications, which has been around for a long time. And I remember, it must be more than 20 years ago, going to Finland with Nokia. This was before I worked at Nokia, actually. And we were shown a connected vending machine, which was, had a cellular module in it. And basically, it just reported the state of the stock inside the vending machine. So people that would go around filling the vending machine wouldn't need to make an unnecessary trip, or if there was a need to replenish before they would normally visit, then the machine could alert the fact that it had run out of Mars bars or whatever it happened to be. And at the time we thought this was quite cool, but I think what we're saying now is that we've sort of moved to a point where pretty much anything which is powered can have a sensor which provides some level of data that spits out, and this enables all sorts of new ways of working for enterprises both big and small. But traditionally the data may have been interpreted by a human in an office somewhere, and then some action taken. But what these platforms allow is some level of automation of that. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think you brought up the point about edge devices, and I think the whole topic of edge computing is something which we're looking at, and it sort of comes into many different areas of networking and IoT. So we probably won't get into that a lot right now, but um, it sort of strikes me also that you detail it in the report, that there are companies that sort of specialize in working with these edge devices, but then there are other companies involved which are much more in the cloud computing space. It feels like we have a bit of a, maybe I'm not sure if it's a battle or cooperation between the two. What would you say?
It is not a battle per se, but yes, more of a cooperation because edge computing, as you mentioned, is becoming really important for organizations who want to collect data real time process it real time, and more so take real time actions and decisions based on this data. Because sending that data to the cloud and waiting for it to process and then take actions is not feasible for many scenarios. So in order to do that, edge computing is becoming really, really important. And there are these edge focused platforms who have mastered the skills of ingesting the data and performing streaming analytics on this live streams of data using a very complex event processor, or an analytics engine, which basically performs machine learning models on this data and gives analysis instantaneously.
Got it. Okay. Well, maybe it's a good point to actually talk about some of the leading IoT platform companies, because there are some names that people will be familiar with, and there's some smaller players that maybe are kind of new to many people. And just while we're recording this, and obviously it's during the COVID time, I don't know if you can hear, but I've got some large machine that's working outside of my house here. I suspect it might be connected. Who knows? But
Yes.
I'm worrying that they're going to start digging up the road. But hopefully they won't. So who are some of the leading IoT platform companies?
Sure. So currently, Microsoft Azure IoT platform leads the space of cloud computing and edge computing, since they offer a very complete end to end platform, starting from chipset with Azure Sphere to applications for AR, VR, and digital twins, followed by Amazon and Huawei. In terms of edge focused IoT platform, for Foghorn and Clearblade are the leaders. And as I mentioned, they have mastered the skills of data ingestion and performing analytics on real time streaming data. Then PTC, Nutanix, and WebNMS are doing exceedingly well with their application enablement tools and services. So, application enablement is also one of the very important category that we have evaluated. And since we are still in the nascent stages of IoT, of course, there is room to grow for these small emerging players as well, such as Crosser and Swim AI.
Okay, that's really helpful. So, I mean, there are, when I kind of look across the landscape, I mean, one thing when I look across the IoT value chain, it's huge and kind of fragmented. But for companies that are trying to um, use IoT to help them, whether it's with saving cost or creating new business models, it looks like a very kind of complex environment. So, how would a company or an enterprise go about making use of one of these platforms? Would they need to use a system integrator, or can they approach these companies directly and get support directly from them? How would that work?
Right. So, as we know, right, every organization has different needs, and they are looking to address different use cases for their IoT solution deployment. And with the number of growing players in the IoT space, it's becoming really challenging for these enterprises to select the right IoT software platform for their requirements. But basically, there are multiple scenarios on how an enterprise can choose and deploy a solution. So, for example, one is if an end user, a client, is looking for a simple turnkey solution, right? They can easily go to these platform players and directly work with them to integrate their platform. In that scenario, they can also see whether they are more so looking the use case which they are trying to address is more so for the cloud computing or edge computing. Based on that, they can choose which vendor would fit their requirements the best. Secondly, if a client needs a customized solution which caters to their to their very specific niche verticals, such as oil and gas, agriculture, then maybe it would be helpful to rope in a system integrator which offers expertise in those verticals, because these platform players may not offer an out of the box solution for these niche verticals, right? So, in that scenario, a system integrator would work with the client as well as the platform player, the platform vendor, to implement the IoT solution. And also, all of these IoT platform vendors have partnered with a number of system integrators to offer their services and support and maintenance even after the solution is deployed.
Okay. And if a company wanted to start small, with I don't know, few tens or of machines, let's say in a factory situation, but then they wanted to kind of scale across, a larger number of machines or across multiple sites. Presumably, these platforms allow for that scalability, do they?
Yes, yes. Scalability is one of the very important criteria as well in our evaluation, and these platforms do have the room to achieve that.
And then things like third-party application integration and support and so on, I guess, would be part of that as well.
Right.
Okay, so we've got and as you say, that the IoT space, although it's been talked about a lot, is still feels like it's at the relatively early stages with a lot of growth potential ahead of it. We're seeing the numbers of IoT connections, you know, uh, rising pretty fast, but maybe some of the most ambitious forecasts that have been seen for trillions of devices still look to be some way off in the future. But it looks like in this IoT platform space, we've got a range of large players like, as you mentioned, Microsoft and AWS, Huawei, and so on, and then some smaller specialist players. But do, how do you sort of see the next few years in terms of the development of this space? Are we likely to see M&A activity as the big players buying the smaller players, or is that not likely to happen for whatever reason? We continue in this sort of rather diverse development paths.
Right. No, absolutely. So the small players like Foghorn Clearblade, they partner with these big players like Microsoft, Amazon in order to offer their cloud services, right? And edge computing is also gaining a lot of traction. So these edge first players who have designed and developed their platform based on edge computing technology more per se, currently they have been excelling in just one or two verticals, but they are also likely to focus moving forward into various other verticals as well. So, for example, Foghorn is focused in industrial IoT currently, and Clearblade in rail and transportation. But they are looking to expand in other verticals as well. In terms of mergers and acquisitions, these cloud players are becoming more and more vertically integrated, and they are trying to own everything from chip to cloud, and they are doing this via mergers, acquisitions, partnerships, or even in-house development.
Okay, very good. Well, Falcone, as I say, we're just touching the surface here, and that your report is, immensely detailed and covers a lot of interesting ground, which we've only just been able to touch on here. So, but let's wrap it up here. Thanks very much for your time today, Falcone. Enjoyed the chat.
Sure. Pleasure to be here. Yes.
Great. And yeah, so please do check back again for the next edition of the Counterpoint podcast. As Falcone said, we're kind of interested in this whole edge computing area, so I'm sure we're going to be touching on that again. And until the next time, goodbye.